So after returning from his quick trip to space, Jeff Bezos had two other big surprises in store for people today. He made charitable donations in the amount of $100 million each to two people, two friends of this program, that are the money's to be used as they see fit. They're CNN political commentator and former special advisor to President Obama, Van Jones, and Chef Jose Andres, founder and driving force behind World Central Kitchen, which has served millions of meals to disaster survivors around the globe. And on this program, we've interviewed him from Houston and San Juan, and I can't even remember how many other places, but both of you have just done extraordinary work. We talked to you earlier in the day. You got the call, was it Saturday?
Yeah, just walking on a path, and the phone rang, and it's Jeff Bezos saying that he felt that we needed to do something to support people who were trying to bring people together across racial lines, political lines, and he wanted to be supportive. And then Lauren, his partner, said, hey, we want to give you $100 million to do it. And I literally lost the ability to speak.
They're sort of burying the lead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When did you find out, Jeff?
Yeah, around the same time. I mean, a few days ago, and the thing was this: it's like, what can we do to try to start investing in how to change the world one plate of food at a time? And he told me, Jose, I want to support you with this money to start finding ways to say that hunger, finally, once and for all, is going to be a problem of the past. We need to be bold, and the moment to be bold is now.
You know, I was thinking about you today, I mean, both of you, but, you know, I remember you in Houston on like an early scouting mission to sort of see what your role could be in disasters. And you'd already been doing it for years at that point. I mean, you got involved in Haiti and a lot of places. To see what you have created thus far and to think about what $100 million can do for you or for others, do you have a sense of what you want to do with it yet?
Well, on relief and emergencies, I can still not claim I'm an expert. I still keep going with the teams of World Central Kitchen to keep learning. How can we do it better? What this 100 million can do is how can we make every dollar to multiply, planting the seed in coming with simple, better ways with boots on the ground in emergencies to be next to the people when they need it the most, which is after the hurricane, the fire, the tornado hits, being next to the people now. And beyond that, how are we going to be doing reconstruction to make sure that the money we put forward is not thrown into the problem, but invested into the solutions. Again, we can do better. We must do better. And food is a great pathway to build a better future.
And Van, I mean, anybody who has seen you on CNN, even if they don't know what you do outside of CNN, has heard you talk about grassroots organizations over and over again. I feel like every time you're on, you're naming groups I've never heard of who are doing work in small communities and big communities. Do you know what you're going to do with this money?
Well, I mean, what I do know, I don't know. I mean, we just found out, and so we're going to...
You're going to have a few people giving you some ideas.
Yeah, we might have a few ideas, but what I do want to say is that, you know, I've been a part of bringing people together across political lines to get people out of prison.
You've gotten criticized for that.
I've gotten criticized, but not by the people who got out of prison. 22 bipartisan criminal justice bills in the past 3 years in states like Georgia and Mississippi, tough places, where we've been able to get red and blue, black, white, and brown together to get stuff done. And I think Jeff Bezos saw that and said, listen, if you can actually get people together, maybe some of these problems can get solved. And so the key is to believe that ordinary people are a lot smarter than the folks who get paid to yell at each other on TV or in Washington, D.C., and to empower them with the ability to solve their own problems. That's what we're going to do.
The award he's named, it's courage and civility. And it's an interesting combination because there's a lot of folks who pretend they have courage who on cable news who are yelling and shoving their opinions down people's throats and telling people what to do, who to vote for, how to think. And then there's a lot of people who are just listening to other people's ideas and seeing what works and trying to bring people together. And that's something both of you have always done.
I always say that we need to build longer tables, not higher walls. We saw through this pandemic that the men and women at World Central Kitchen, with many chefs across the country and volunteers, we put together almost 3,000 restaurants to tackle the issues that we were facing, hospitals that had no food, shelters, elderly. We got almost a bill through Congress called the FEED Act. We were able to bring, back then, Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Tim Scott. We were able to bring people out of the House, also on both parties, together to support a bill that was pragmatic, that was smart, that was bringing people together and was solving a problem. This is the type of things that America wants to see. Food brings America and the world together. More than 87% of Americans believe that every American should be entitled to a plate of food. You see, food is the way we can be building a better America, be building a better tomorrow.
There's a lot of people who are watching today. Some of them were amazed, encouraged, excited about the future of space. Some were thinking, this man could spend his money in other ways for people who are, suffering right now. You talked about that in your talk today when you were named as a recipient of this. Can you just talk about what you say to those who say, look, is space exploration something that we really need?
Well, listen, I mean, the last time we had the space race, we got something called solar panels, which may actually wind up saving the Earth itself. So, look, I'm pro innovation. I'm pro entrepreneurship. I just want everybody to get a chance to play. But I will say this: when this guy has lifted the ceiling off of a bunch of people's dreams, somebody's reaching for the heavens. There's a lot more heaven to reach for. We should be inspired by that. And by the way, it's not either or. You see, these also, investing on stuff on the ground. Listen, the bipartisan, cross-racial work got 20,000 people home out of federal prisons in the past 2 years, 70,000 out of state and federal. People don't even know that. People don't know that people are working together and actually freeing people and bringing people home. More people will know that if you do hard work and if you are kind, you just might get help. You get help if you scream and yell and act like an idiot because you're going to trend. You're gonna get the ratings. You're gonna get the eyeballs. But you can get real help now from people who've got the means and resources if you do it the right way, like this brother's doing.
Van Jones, Chef Jose Andres, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Incredible. Yeah. Do you see this as life-changing or work-changing?
Yeah.
I think it's just the beginning. Well, in my case, and I'm not going to be ending hunger tomorrow with 100 million, but this is a way to start making bold decisions. The recipes of the past to feed humanity are proven that are not technically working. We must change the recipe. We must find better ways where governments, citizens, NGOs, private business, together, we can finally, once and for all, with solutions. We can end many of the problems that humanity faces. We need to stop giving long speeches and putting people with boots on the ground next to the people that need it. This is the way we're going to improve the world.
All right, you're both forces of nature, so I have confidence you're going to do great things. Van Jones, Jose Andres.